Hi, welcome to this overview of the EPA Sampling Trainer. This video will give a complete overview of features included in the simulation and will show examples of how training sessions in the simulator work. When you first open the simulator, you'll be greeted by this main menu. The user wearing the virtual reality headset will be placed into this demo room where they can experiment with the controls they'll be using during the training. A facilitator on the computer will use this menu to set up the training scenario. Players can look around and test out the controls and tools while the facilitator sets up the simulation. This menu allows for customization of which samples the user will need to gather during their session. Here you can enable or disable the samples each trainee will have in each room. There are 3 levels of difficulty that the facilitator can set up for the trainee. Each increase in difficulty removes some of the guides that the trainer provides in the simulation. Easy difficulty includes labels for samples and places templates where samples need to be collected. Medium difficulty removes the labels so users have to figure out which sample sites contain each sample. Hard difficulty removes all labels and site templates, so users must determine the sampling site and which sample is to be collected there. Facilitators can maximize the trainee's point of view by clicking the VR headset button. The trainee holds 2 controllers while in the simulator. They're able to move by using the joystick on the controller, but some users may experience motion sickness using this style of movement. Those users may prefer teleport mode, which shows a target on the floor and then will allow them to instantly teleport to the new location. The line to the target will be green when the user is teleporting to a valid location and will show red when they're aimed at a space that they cannot teleport to. When setting up a sample collection, the user can select between 3 tools: the swab, the sponge, and the vacuum. The user grips their selected tool with the grip buttons on the controller and can pick up and manipulate their instrument. The user can then practice collecting the sample. They will feel vibration in the controller as well as see a blue glow at the tip of the tool to indicate that they are in the right spot to take the sample. If they are too far past the sample or not close enough, they will see the blue indicator disappear. If the user releases the grip control, the tool will stay in position until they grab the device again. Once the user has completed collecting the sample, they can hit the Submit button to move to the next sample collection. Once all of the samples are submitted, the user will be prompted to swap gloves, and then could continue to practice sample collection if they chose to do so. Once the simulation difficulty has been chosen and the desired samples have been selected, the large play button will start the full scenario. The dashboard will now change to show the facilitator key information about the training session. Current time will show how long the scenario has been running. Current room name shows which area of the scenario the user is in. Collected samples will show how many samples that user has collected so far, and current sample will show NA until the trainee selects a sample to collect. The 4 boxes on top of the display, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, and perimeter, will show exactly how the samples were collected once the sample is submitted. The full scenario features high-quality photogrammetric room textures to enhance the sense of immersion while using the trainer. Looking around the room using the VR headset, the user is able to see the samples they will need to collect to complete the scenario. Now, we'll watch the sample gathering process. First, the user chooses their tool. In this demo, we'll use the sponge. Next, we gather the horizontal sample, using the sponge to attempt to get full coverage of the sample area. As we hit Submit, the dashboard will show in green the area that was successfully swabbed by the user. We then move on to collecting the vertical sample, taking care to move diligently over the whole area. We'll submit that. Now, on the diagonal sample, we'll give a demonstration of hasty swabbing technique to show what that looks like in the dashboard. When submitted, it's easy to see how much of the area wasn't touched by the sponge. The last sample we'll gather is the perimeter sample, which only requires the outline of the sampling area. Not all tools require all samples to be gathered. The final step after submitting all of our samples is to swap gloves, and the sample is complete. The visualizations of sampling technique can be replayed and reviewed by the user to understand errors they may have made. Now, we'll see a demonstration of hard difficulty, where you can see that the labels of each sample are missing. Additionally, the user has to place the sample area manually. They're able to drag the sample area within the blue field, and must find the area where the place button lights up. Incorrect placement means that the sample would be invalid. The sample stats box gives a slew of statistics about how well the sample was collected. First, users are able to see if the correct tool was used and what percentage of the area was successfully swabbed on each sample. Note the lower coverage percentages of the hastily done diagonal collection and the low percentage of the perimeter sample, which should have been taken outside of the box rather than on the inside. Checkboxes at the bottom show simply yes or no if a trainee made correct decisions on tool selection, sample location, and if they finished by changing their gloves. Location stats will show similar statistics averaged for each room of the scenario, and scenario stats give an overview of the entire duration of the training. Here's an example of what happens when the incorrect tool is selected. In this demo, we're using the vacuum to gather a sample that should be collected with the sponge. We can go through and collect our horizontal and vertical samples as required with the vacuum, but when we go to review the sample stats, it'll show that the correct tool should have been the sponge, and on scrolling down, we see that the box is not checked that we selected the correct tool. To move to the next area of the trainer, users simply use the Move to Next Floor button. Each floor will have a new set of samples that need to be collected. To finish this video, we'll show what each room of the trainer looks like. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this overview of the EPA sampling trainer. Happy sampling!